Welcome back to the Nothing But Football podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, don't fix your screens, guys. This is just three handsome fellas, bearded up. Joining me today in his very nice green shirt, Henry Hill. How are you doing, my friend?
I noticed you replaced me with Joe Tomlinson last week.
Exactly, yeah.
What a downgrade.
Like for like.
Honestly, that corporate slug. So, yeah.
Hey, everyone ends up working for the man. Even the YouTube. Even YouTube is the man, my friend.
I like Joe Tomlinson. He's my friend.
Just to clarify.
Just sad to see you got such a good guest.
Ben, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very good, thanks, mate. It's just a shame it's not Joe Tomlinson sitting beside me this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've got to deal with him.
Better banter.
Yeah.
banter.
I listened to this in the car with my girlfriend the other day.
What did she think?
She was intrigued about it. I just hadn't listened to it on Spotify before, so it was quite funny
Hearing just the voices.
driving along,
Yeah,
hearing the voices.
yeah. No, I always. It sounds I don't know. Maybe it sounds very egotistical, but I quite enjoy listening to the podcast. Just even though we've been on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
told me.
It makes so much sense. It's just unbelievable.
I'm so right.
Zach told me he likes nothing more than running an ice bath.
And listen, chucking on nothing but football.
Glass of champagne and
Bubbles everywhere.
nothing but football.
might do
Well,
that
if
tonight.
you guys are having a bubble bath and watching this right now, hope you are enjoying it. As you can see by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest issues your Premier League club is facing so far this season. We're going to go through all 20 of them, so don't worry. We'll try and cover every single one of you. Some of your clubs are doing really, really well this season, so we might not have a fully detailed one, but we'll try and come up with one for every single one. So without further ado, just before we jump in, Ali, my girlfriend, asked me to shout out West Brom. Because obviously they're not in the Premier League and they just beat Norwich yesterday.
Boing,
so,
boing.
Boing, indeed.
Up the baggies.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I like the
I'll
baggies.
shout
I've got a little bit of a
A
soft spot.
random shout out for West Brom.
Yeah, shout out West Brom.
Shout out Ryan
West
Mason.
Brom.
I'm with Ali on this
All
one.
right.
There you go.
Shout
Ryan
out
Mason.
Middlesbrough, top of the league.
You literally shouted out a club in the Isle of Wight 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and that was
followed me
apparently the
they
biggest
followed
thing in
me
the
on
world.
Twitter.
I was wearing the shirt.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. Well, there you have it, Alpha.
If that's the case, can I shout out Uniqlo? Because I'm wearing the shirt. Just a random shout out to Uniqlo.
They've got to pay.
They've got to pay. Yeah.
Okay, then, without further ado, let's jump into it and kick it off with Manchester City. That's the first team we're going to be speaking about. And we're going to be talking about their defence. Yeah. That's one of their biggest issues at the moment, because going forward, when you've got someone like Erling Haaland, the freak that is, the phenomenon that, maybe not compared to the phenomenon that in R9, but he is still incredibly good. You are going to end up scoring goals. Like, that is kind of their plan. Get the ball in the best way possible to Erling Haaland. I will actually say as well, I think Phil Foden is creeping back towards his best, to his better side, isn't he? Yeah.
With Phil Foden, though, I feel like he had a big affair. And I'm still learning to trust him again. So yeah, because for a long time I thought he was the love of my life. Then I realised that he was absolutely not.
It's baby steps.
Yeah, it's baby steps. So he's taking us out for a few dinners just to get us back.
If
on
it was
side.
Love Island, he'd still be sleeping on the sunbed.
Well, I mean, that is a fantastic analogy. I do agree. But I think that the attack is okay, to be fair. The defence is where things are slightly worrying. Obviously, we saw the Arsenal game a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, where they played a very different style of football, and very nearly had it almost go their way, but it didn't suit them at all, and obviously got the draw against Arsenal in the end. Saw them against Monaco yesterday. I just think throughout this season, we'd mentioned already the fear factor, I feel, being dropped when you're playing against Manchester City, and in that Brighton game specifically, they defensively were a bit all over the place, and I think that's one of the consistencies we're seeing at the moment with this Man City kind of backline. Look, sometimes it is really difficult to kind of criticise Man City because they are one of the best teams out there. And they haven't necessarily had an awful time, but they aren't the Man City of old where they just absolutely dominate every single game. They do have issues at times. Obviously, against Monaco yesterday, set pieces seems to be a big struggling point for them.
Yeah, it was a very weird penalty, wasn't it?
It was. Eric Dyer was managing to tuck it away. But set pieces, I think a lot of teams this season are struggling with set pieces. A lot of clubs are focusing on those kind of marginal gains, whether it be from throw-ins, whether it be from corners, whatever it might be, trying to really capitalise on set pieces. So they're not the only one with that. But even just the defensive structure, whether it's maybe a change in who's playing, or I still think at times I like Kusanov, but he's not necessarily the best right back in the world. Nunes as well, I think, struggles out there. O'Reilly, like we were giving them their praise last week, and they are deserving of it, but they're still finding their feet. Like Kusanov is a young guy. O'Reilly, whether he's playing at the left or whatever it might be, he's super young too. So that defensive structure, I think, is maybe one of their biggest issues. Would you guys tend to agree?
I think they've been able to kind of finally land on a solid centre-back partnership with Guardiola and Diaz. They've played the bulk of the season so far. Kusanov has kind of come in and out a little bit, but he's looked good in patches. I'd probably say... I'd say more of the issue I've kind of found a little bit with City is down that left-hand side, you've got Doku, you've even got O'Reilly playing at left-back. That dynamic feels really good, and Doku's kind of creating a lot of threat, whereas on the right-hand side, it doesn't quite feel the same. They've kind of been chopping and changing between Bernardo Silva, Savinho was injured, and then he's kind of come back in. They haven't really been able to kind of establish that as much. They've looked defensively vulnerable in some games. I'd say that was probably more early on in the season, though, and since then, it feels like they kind of figured it out. They'd maybe be a little bit worried about how, at times last week against Burnley were kind of able to get on top of them in that first half and create some moments, but they still ended up kind of coming away, drubbing them in that game. Last night was a bit of a weird one, because the first goal from Monaco was a brilliant strike from the edge of the box. Then the penalty they conceded came from the set piece, and it was one of those ones where Nico Gonzalez is just quite unlucky. He's like tried to clear it away and then just ended up kicking Dyer in the face. But anywhere else on the pitch, that's probably a foul. So I don't know. I feel like defensively they've been at the heart of it. They've been okay. Maybe it's just like who becomes their consistent right back, who becomes that consistent left back.
But I guess we are comparing it to the Man City of old, or that we know of, or that they can achieve. Like the players in that back line have been elite. Yeah. And they've been able to have an incredible defensive structure, and sometimes that is with maybe Rodri in the side.
Well, that's what I was going to say as well.
Crucial.
That's maybe one of their biggest issues is that I know Rodri played last night, and he kind of he's been in and out a little bit, but it just feels like maybe he's not quite back at that level yet, and he's kind of struggling a bit fitness wise. I think Pep's kind of had a few comments that he's not 100% all we think he's going to miss this week, and then he's playing last night. I don't think he played last weekend against Burnley, but Nico Gonzalez played and looked okay. So at least he's kind of coming and finding a bit more confidence. But I find it quite hard with City to figure it out, because I actually feel like
the last one isn't that bad.
No, since the Brighton game, they've actually been quite good. And against Arsenal, they defended really well in that game, didn't they? But it was just maybe being caught in between styles, being caught in between approaches, led to that them kind of pushing up at the last minute to let Martinelli in, where they'd been so solid before. I find it a difficult one.
If their tactic now is to rely on Erling Haaland, it's not the worst one in the world.
It's definitely not.
He's got 17 goals in 10 games this season.
Yeah,
It's
I feel like this could
absolutely
be his
bonkers.
best ever season.
And I think he's probably recognised the loss of De Bruyne, who you just have to see him at Napoli. He's playing so well. Yeah. He's probably recognised that he's had to step up even more than ever this season. It's not a terrible thing. I'm actually intrigued to know what City's targets are from the boardroom and the manager level, because there is an element of transition. I know they've spent a lot of money on these new players, but it is still a relatively new squad getting to know each other. And if you consider the likes of Arsenal, how settled they are as a squad, and the fact that Liverpool won it last season and brought in all these new players, I think the expectation that City should be playing unbelievable. Well, I mean, they should be. They should be doing better than they have been in certain moments. But as Ben just pointed out, I don't think it's nearly as bad as they're making it out to be. And again, if your tactic is rely on Haaland, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I guess, look, we're seeing a lot of teams, I think, especially the ones that were in the Club World Cup, struggling with injuries and fatigue too. And City were, I know they didn't go maybe as far as they would have liked, but City were playing in that competition.
To be honest, it's probably as simple as that being their biggest issue. They've just had a lot of injuries so far this season, so that maybe they've not been able to establish, or certain players haven't been able to kick on from last year. Like we've hardly seen Marmoush. Savinho hasn't really got up and running yet. There was obviously a lot of transfer speculation, but he was struggling with fitness at the start of the season as well. Their injury list is quite big outside of that as well, but they've got a chance to establish a bit of momentum now. Their run coming up, they've got Brentford away at the weekend, then Everton after the international break.
But those aren't easy games. Those two aren't easy games.
They're not the worst games ever. Everton actually aren't winning as much as people think, and Brentford, you don't really know who's going to turn up.
Yeah. Okay.
Who else have they got injured?
Villarreal as well.
It feels like their injury list is they've got Kusanov out, Aït-Nouri out as well, Marmoush out, Cherki out as well. So we haven't really been able to kind of see him. So yeah, I kind of feel okay about City. I feel like because Arsenal have obviously been strong in recent weeks and Liverpool had an amazing start to the season, not necessarily in terms of performances, but in terms of getting over the line. It feels like nobody's really talking about City for the league or the Champions League. But when you've got, like you said, Henry playing it, Henry? Haaland playing as he is at the moment.
I
like
should
it's-
be. Yeah, well,
Similar.
you're right to
Banging them
point
in.
out my fault.
But yeah, they said I'd be interested to see what City fans think.
Okay, well, if you are a City fan or any fan of any club, then get
five aside
in
this
the
week.
comments below. Henry's got a decent strike in him. I saw him score an absolute worldie of a left-footed strike in 7-a-side once. It was a lovely shot.
He's never forgot that.
I have not. I just couldn't believe it, to be honest. Henry play football. So a team that are struggling to play football, though, at the moment, Wolverhampton Wanderers,
where'd you start?
managed to get a result.
Of course they did.
On the weekend.
Of course they did.
Against Dr. Tottenham.
Yep.
They will be seeing you now. We'll get on the Spurs a little bit later, but Wolves generally are struggling. They are struggling quite a bit. The biggest issue that I felt like was the back three at the moment, which is so weird because last season the back three for Wolves were stable. They were one of the kind of compliments towards them once Vitor Pereira found his back three. Obviously, a couple came in January as well. But they managed to really find some form. They managed to find a way of playing. Whereas now, I watch this Wolves defence sometimes and I think, goodness gracious, what's happening here? And to be honest, it kind of mirrors what happened last season for Wolves as well. It was a little bit more of an issue with the goalkeeper. Look, the goalkeeper's not necessarily incredible right now. But last season, they were really, really bad at the back. They were scoring goals. Cunha was doing a fantastic job. Shad Larson was doing really well up top, but they were really struggling at the back. And I don't know whether it's going to be the exact same this year. They get to January and they manage to figure it out. But the defence at the moment is quite poor because they've got international players in that side at times. Like the midfield, the Brazilians have both been called up to the Brazil squad. They've got very good international players there. Shad Larson, we've been super complimentary. It's taken maybe a little bit longer than we'd expect to get up and running again so far this season. And look, definitely scoring goals was a bit of an issue as well this year. But I do think for what was a positive for them last season, the back three have struggled so far this campaign.
Yeah, I mean, you've also the goalkeeping situation again. Johnson and Sarr. It's not.
Yeah, it was an issue last year as well.
I think you're right. Like if you can break through that defensive pivot and get at that back line, I'm not overwhelmed by Bueno and Krejci as a defensive duo.
No.
I mean, there's just other than Matt Doherty, like there's not much to be said for the defense. Like Matt Doherty did well last year because he came a bit more attacking. He went back to kind of being more of like a flying right wing back. This year he's asked to be more defensive right back, which I don't think necessarily is his top strength. Certainly at this point, he's a bit getting on. So yeah, I just think if you can get at that Wolves back line, it's young, it's inexperienced. Doherty aside, and there are holes there. I like Pereira. I think he's a good manager. I just think you called it at the start of the season, if I remember correctly, in your predictions. It's a brutal league, and if you can't get momentum and build results, you're going to get swallowed up. And I just feel like at the moment, you're right, they could turn it around. Like that's all. I forgot that Palace didn't win anything in 7 games last year, and they went crazy. Yeah. But I just don't see the same.
I just don't think, Wolves just haven't got that quality. I mean, to be fair, the last couple of results have been positive for them. Obviously, against Tottenham, draw on Saturday. They beat Everton in the Cup as well.
They did.
It looks like, from what I've kind of seen in the last couple of games, he's shifted from that back five to a back four. I know they've got Krejci, who's kind of almost an in-between kind of player, can play in midfield, can play at centre-half. Andre was kind of tucking into a back three as well. Agbadou is an interesting one because he came in... Did he come in January last year? And he was really, really good, really solid for them, but he's been nowhere near the same player this year. So he's kind of taken him out of the team. He didn't start against Tottenham on Saturday. And they were, to be fair, it was a weird one, the Spurs-Wolves game, because in the first half we were creating chances. They were quite easy to get in behind. But then once they got that goal, they were really, really solid and completely nullified us, which is something we haven't really seen so far with Wolves this season. And I think despite the fact they conceded that goal in the last minute, there's something maybe to build on a little bit there. They're still kind of adjusting to life without Cunha as well, someone that could put that team on his back. And I said at the start of the season, like, they were able to do that for a period last season. It was really impressive what Pereira did while Cunha was banned in a really important part of the season. But there's a difference between not having to rely on that quality and kind of being able to galvanise a group of players to get through that period while he's out, compared to him just not being at the football club. And they've lost Aït-Nouri as well, who is a quality player.
Aït-Nouri, especially for going forward for them, was so crucial to how they wanted to play.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, I think, maybe partially why he's moved to this back four too. because he's missing out on having Aït-Nouri on that left side.
I mean, one thing you can't write off is they do try. Like they work really hard as a team. It's not as if they're throwing in the towel.
Well, City first game of the season, like they could have been 1 or 2-0 up in that before City scored. Like
they just have lapses of concentration where they really get punished. If you look at that weird Leeds result at home, Leeds 3 goals come in 15 minutes.
Crazy free kick as well, wasn't it?
Great goal.
Exactly. And there's just moments where they just lose. There's not enough consistency throughout the game. Like defending a lead against Tottenham last week, you really got to hope for them.
Yeah,
that they can just hold on and keep out João Palhinha, But so they do get stung in very short moments in games, and if they can just figure out how to iron out a performance across the 90 minutes and keep it consistent, then I think we'll see an upturn.
Yeah, they've got a couple of big games coming up. They've got Brighton at home at the weekend, which you never really know. Brighton are arguably the most unpredictable team in this league.
Yeah.
And then after the international break, they've got Sunderland and Burnley back to back. Sunderland away, Burnley at home. So they're 6 pointers, as you would say. So
that is huge. Those are some big fixtures for them.
Yeah, if they can get one win there, a couple of wins there, then they're laughing.
But this is the thing now. Like you look at how Burnley, even Burnley, who I know in the league maybe aren't the highest, but they probably they could have probably got a result against Man United, or at least deserved a draw out of that game. Liverpool, they've been quite unlucky, and so one of the two of the team, well, all 3 of the teams that have come up this year feel like they're putting a really good effort to showcase they can play Premier League football here. And so it could easily see one of the other traditional teams, Wolves being one of them, West Ham, who we'll get into later. Well, not traditionally, but teams that were already in the Premier League go down.
Yeah.
Okay, then, from Wolverhampton Wanderers to a team who are struggling to keep 10 men on the pitch, Chelsea Football Club.
Have you got a discipline problem?
I think that's probably the biggest issue right now. So there's an easy one to talk about depth and maybe injuries for them, but away from that, I think the discipline isn't it?
From everything I was looking at, because I did a bit of research into this, so you got 15 yellows and 2 reds in the league this year, which is really poor.
Another one in the Champions League.
A lot of it hugely concentrated in defence. You got another red card in the Champions League.
Yeah, it was a bit.
First one wasn't a yellow.
And basically,
the second one doesn't even touch him.
Yeah.
What I was reading on Reddit is that they're like, it's all well and good getting sent off, but it's the sequences of play leading up to getting sent off that's really pissing people off, which is the big mistakes, and particularly Caicedo running around like a tackle maniac at the moment, but then some indecision on the ball. Andre Santos looks a bit lost sometimes in midfield. He's quite young and inexperienced. So and then in defense, passing out from the back, some of the decision making from the centre halves. Yeah. It's not on Robert Sanchez or anything this year. I think actually it's lapses of concentration, because you dominate the ball. You've got lots of possession. Only Liverpool have more possession than Chelsea this year, and you pass it, like your pass percentage is actually super high. You're just getting punished from really lazy mistakes.
You know what's
leading
weird?
To really costly.
For the last 3 seasons, I feel like I've always gone, half all the goals we concede are just from us making the mistake. For the last 3 seasons, and look, this has been a bit of an issue discipline-wise as well since the Pochettino era. During the Pochettino era, Chelsea had the most yellow cards in the league. Even last season, they were up there. This season, we're definitely leading the red card one, that's for sure. But again, I think you are right, Henry. It is, and that's what comes from, I think, having or wanting to play such an attacking style, right? Like Cucurella is pushing forward with the same as Malo Gusto when he's at right backs, leaving you with just 2 centre backs there. So when you do lose possession and a high turnover, or have a high turnover, and they're on the counter attack quite quickly, it's always going to lead to someone making a rash decision and having to pull someone back, or like you see the Chalobah red card. Completely right. Andre Santos, I don't know why, he should just go back to the goalkeeper. He tries to play it back to Chalobah. Obviously, it gets cut through. And Chalobah, whether he means to or he doesn't mean to, ends up taking him out. I sometimes sit there and I think, like, surely you understand, like, keep 11 men on the pitch. Because before, when Chelsea were at 11 men, I don't know if you've seen the stats of before the red card and post-red card.
Yeah.
Chelsea were dominating Brighton. It felt like it was going to see another goal happen very, very easily. And then the second Chelsea get a guy sent off, it obviously flips over to Brighton domination. And I just think, let them score. Let him go through, let him score. Same against Man United. When Sanchez comes out and takes him out, let him score. You're in the third minute of the game. You've got 87 minutes here to try and get back into this, and it's Manchester United at the moment. You could have very easily had a good chance of doing that. You almost did with 10 men. So even the decision making sometimes of like getting sent off, and it's very much sending off where they're trying to obviously win back the ball or do something because they don't even let them score. But it's almost like, look, take one for the team here, and instead of let them concede rather than getting sent off. Is what I mean.
I'm really interested to see against Liverpool, because Liverpool love the ball as
well.
Yeah,
it's
that two teams trying to impose themselves on each other, and I do worry again if Liverpool can just break past Caicedo and have a look at your back line. Like Cody Gakpo is always getting fouled. Salah, they've got a point to prove after 2 bad losses. I'm really interested
and him
to see
being left on the bench as well.
Well, those games last season, Chelsea won at Stamford Bridge last year against Liverpool, but that was post Liverpool winning the league.
Yeah, they were on the piss, weren't they?
But the game at the game at Anfield, Slot always said was probably one of his toughest games.
Yeah, Chelsea played well,
and we did play well. The issue is we're not at the same level we were last season at this point in the season with how we're playing football. But I do think that is maybe Chelsea's biggest issue. Like, let's just keep 11 men on the pitch and see what this team can do.
Yeah. Do you think, I was thinking about this the other day, like the whole kind of indecision, the ill discipline, the red cards. Do you think it's kind of a trickle down effect from the kind of recruitment strategy of not having that experience on the pitch? I know it's kind of easy to draw those lines, but it's like where it just keeps happening.
I think there's a thing with youth in terms of maybe that does come
and
in
also
with
I think the
experience,
naivety of the manager a little bit as well in terms of maybe the substitutions where
I think that's a fair criticism too. Like, he himself has come out and said he probably made the bad decisions against Liverpool and against Brighton.
Yeah.
With his substitutions, maybe being too negative, like the Man United game especially, not having any width at all.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Absolutely killing us. So I definitely think that if that can kind of tie in with it, then I think that is true.
Yeah, I think also the red cards, a lot of them are like split-second moments. Like Robert Sanchez kind of, I know it's easy to say, and you're right, like let him score, but he's kind of coming out, he's kind of got to make a decision. It's like, it's a bit unlucky actually, it's clumsy, but it's...
What did you think about like the comparison then to Nick Pope?
I think they're two totally different scenarios. Like Nick Pope has to react because he's just been sold a back pass and he has to kind of do something.
He also doesn't follow through into the player's need, does he?
No, exactly. I know I'm a Spurs fan and say it against Arsenal, but I think it was probably the right decision.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the Sanchez one, he comes out, clatters him and goes...
Actually kind of made me laugh where Saka... Was it after the Newcastle game? He said, they always go against us. And I was thinking,
the victim mentality of that club is something else. That's their biggest problem.
Okay, well then, from Chelsea's biggest issue being discipline and possibly depth as well in injuries at the moment, we're going to go over to Burnley Football Club. And I kind of struggled, to be honest, because Burnley, I think, have actually been a little bit unfortunate that so far this season, how results has gone against them, against some of the big teams, and have played pretty well in a lot of their games. Like, I've been pleasantly surprised that everyone. Jane Anthony looks fantastic.
He's second top goal scorer in the league.
Second top goal scorer in the league. Cullen in midfield's been doing a fantastic job as well. Dubravka in goal, we mentioned last season, probably one of the most underrated players.
Yeah, last week wasn't a... Sorry, Henry. Last week wasn't a... That wasn't a 5-1 game either against City, really. Like, it just wasn't. And they've got City, Liverpool, and Man United out of the way. I know Man United's not Man United anymore, but like they've got those games out of the way. There's an opportunity now to kind of like put that behind them and kick on, I think.
Yeah, I actually respect what Scott Parker's done there, because if you look, they concede more shots than anyone in the league by a long way. They're like almost 20 shots a game, which isn't great, obviously, but this is coming from a team that was one of the most defensively solid you'll ever see in the Championship. So
and then lost crucial players as well.
Lost crucial players, exactly. So it's interesting that he's decided just to flip it on his head and go out. He's probably recognised you can't just sit back and do nothing. Although I still reckon they could probably get some results doing that. I know they're low down in the table, but I agree with you. I've been pleasantly surprised at Burnley. I think they're playing better football than I expected. Even like Lyle Foster. He looks like a better player this season. In fact, I've just drafted him in. So I had enough of Tierno Barry letting me down.
He's on my bench, Tierno Barry, Jesus.
Yeah, and then we'll get onto them later. Yeah. I honestly, I think Burnley just needs to keep doing what they're doing, and they will, as they have done, beat Sunderland quite comfortably. One of the best teams in the league in terms of...
They've conceded the fourth least XG, I think, Sunderland so far. So it's like not easy to break them down and get opportunities.
Burnley will know that this season for them is decided in certain games. Yeah. They'll be targeting certain games for certain results.
Has to be getting 3 points here or there.
And Chouna, I think he's been all right since he's come in. A few of the signings have been positive. So compared to other previously promoted sides who've come up, I'm all right with Burnley at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, it's about picking their moments in certain games. They've got Tottenham out the way as well, obviously, in the first game of the season they've played. So that's 4 out of the traditional big 6 already. I think they should be happy. Like, they've had things kind of... Maybe, I guess their biggest issue is just that lack of concentration in the biggest moments. Like you think about the Hannibal penalty against Liverpool.
Yeah, it was
the
penalty against United as well.
Jaden Anthony pulling Ahmad back. It's just
decision.
like, especially when you've worked so hard for 90 minutes to get through and get a point at Old Trafford, get a point at home to Liverpool, and then to do that, if you're a manager, Scott Parker, you must be tearing your hair out. So I think that's probably, but other than that can happen when you're a team that's kind of battled for so long, just a lapse of, you saw it, like we spoke about Man City earlier, they battled so hard against Arsenal for 45 minutes defending that deep, and then it's just one lapse of concentration and it can kill you in this league, especially against the quality of team like an Arsenal or like Liverpool or even Man United against Burnley, for example. So that's been the only thing that's let them down, because so far, again, like I said last week, that Man City game wasn't really a 5-1 game. Haaland's 2 goals came in added time. They scored 2 own goals, Burnley. Like Esteve, 2 great finishes. But I think
so. It was a lapse of concentration maybe at the end of the game as well. That has happened a few times for Burnley, but otherwise Burnley doing very, very well. Over to a team that was doing very well last season, but struggling a lot this year, Aston Villa. Obviously they've managed to score a couple of goals now, where they hadn't for the first few games of the season. But it is that going forward part of their game which is really struggling. Morgan Rogers doesn't look at the races compared to how he was last season. Ollie Watkins was somebody that was at times being rumoured to go to Arsenal and being spoken about as one of the best strikers in the Premier League. I think he still is a quality striker. But they aren't necessarily giving him the service to be able to get these shots off. They're really struggling going forward at the moment. And I think that's probably their biggest issue, right? Creativity?
Yeah, go on, Ben.
I think it's like from what I've seen from Villa fans online, it feels like it's a bit of a blend of a tactical thing from Emery, but also personnel issue. Like they've just got players that are struggling at the moment. Rodgers is struggling for form.
Well, we criticised their recruitment, didn't we, last week?
Yeah. I also think that a lot of Villa fans, before they kind of got that win against Fulham or got off the mark against Bologna as well, their first win of the season, like I think it was a lot of fans, maybe Villa fans, not happy about Emery continually persisting with the same players and the kind of same tactics, and McGinn out on the right-hand side and all this kind of stuff. It feels like they've lost that bit of spark. And it's like they feel like they're seeing the same team every week. But now they can kind of use that Fulham game as a platform, and they played quite well in that game to turn it around. But even then, before that, Fulham had their chances and could have buried them, and it could have gone differently. But they've kind of just got to put that behind them now. But I think it's a blend of the personnel just almost going for. I feel like they had such a big summer, and there was such a kind of sort of sludgy feeling around all the PSR stuff, and I think that does have a bit of a trickle down effect in the dressing room as well. Like because they're not being able to see the club move on in the sort of direction that they want to. Like, are they looking at saying, why aren't we kind of maybe signing the players to kind of kick on, get back in the Champions League, which they understand the circumstances, but as players, it's still frustrating, right? Because you feel like you worked so hard towards something and it didn't happen on the final day, but then it's like you have to go through that summer where, like you saw how all the players reacted when Jacob Ramsey left, for example, kind of a lot of those messages like, oh, it's just the way football is nowadays and all that kind of stuff. So it feels like they're having a bit of a hangover, I think, a little bit from the summer. So some players just aren't quite finding that same groove. Rodgers is the main one. But then again, Rodgers, towards the back end of last season, started to drop off a little bit as well. And it was kind of some of the other players, Asensio, that took teams start to realise like how good Rodgers is. Everything kind of went through him when Villa were playing at their best.
So if you can end up kind of nullifying him, you were nullifying Villa. Yeah. And this is the thing. Like we said about last week, how Villa's, especially their winger signings, have never really fully worked. Obviously, Leon Bailey had that 1.5 seasons where he was incredible. Yeah. Apart from that,
they've had flashes,
dropped off afterwards. Dialby started well and then obviously got sold. They played obviously Buendia's now kind of back in the side. He was being shipped off on loan last season. Gusand at the moment, the boy that came in the summer.
Showing glimpses. Yeah. I fully agree with everything Ben said. I was going to say about that feeling. I think they're just in a bit of a hangover and they're slowly waking up from it. I think they're going to do well in the Europa League.
Hopefully, when Harvey Elliott finds his feet as well, like that will kind of
even Sancho, as much as
I kind of forgot he was there, to be honest. Jesus.
Yeah, but if you get him going, he is something.
And I actually feel like he kind of suits that system as well, playing a little bit more centrally as that left winger rather than playing actually out on a touchline. Because he's not. One thing we've never really seen with Sancho is that, like, you saw it in the Bundesliga, but you saw that like burst of pace. Whereas in the Premier League, we've never really seen that, and I feel like he's much more comfortable actually operating in like central positions. Yeah. So maybe that could kind of work for him. But yeah, Rodgers has also got to pick himself up because I feel like there's been. It's like even like tiny little things like with Rodgers. It's like, did you see that Instagram story where he was talking about, the tackle from the Sunderland player.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit just like, almost like feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's me reading into
He
it
was saying
far too deeply. But like,
Sunderland had posted it or something.
almost like glorifying a
like,
dangerous tackle. I was like, mate, just come on. Like, it feels like, stop. I
This
don't know,
isn't
maybe
what's
that's
lost,
far
like,
too like deep from my point of view. But it's just like, it feels like
No,
they're just
I
licking their wounds a bit, feeling sorry for themselves. It's just like, no, go out and show why. It doesn't feel like an Unai Emery team at the moment.
Well, I was going to say, is there anything about like the kind of people sometimes say Unai Emery after about 3 seasons?
They're lucky. I refuse to listen to this. They're lucky to have him.
Yeah, of course.
And
But
do
that
you not
doesn't
think
mean
though
that maybe people, like, especially because the team's been around Unai Emery for a long time, sometimes, and I get it, and I think everyone can take from interviews, Unai Emery's intense.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think he's very, and he wants the absolute most out of you all the time, which could probably be quite tiring
This
as
is
well.
what I was saying last week about. I was listening to Guillaume Balaguer was being interviewed on TalkSport because he's just written the book for Unai Emery and kind of the rise of Aston Villa and that kind of stuff. It's like, I think him and Monchi especially, super, super intense, work so hard to kind of turn around the trajectory of that football club. Obviously, Monchi's left now, and that's happened a few times with their relationship where it's like, okay, it's just best if we kind of walk away from each other. So maybe with a new sporting director coming in, a little bit like livens it up, freshens it up a little bit. But I do think Emery can... we're not working with him every day, so we don't really know. I think he'd be absolutely amazing for players, but I do think over... it happens with every manager. It's probably happening with Pep a little bit, where it's like you kind of hear the same voice all the time, and just they haven't really been able to freshen that squad up as much. Like we saw against Sunderland a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? 9 out of the 11 players were there prior to Unai Emery coming in. So it just feels like they're just, I don't know.
Just something that might be something
That
to
Fulham
also
win
add to
might
the
just give them a bit
equation.
of a kick on that they need.
Well then, from the team that beat Fulham to Fulham, Henry Hill, we'll come over to you for this one. The biggest problem at the moment?
Oh, it's so hard because last week we were in 7th, and I was thinking, yeah, here we go. We're on for Europe as I predicted, and then what is the biggest problem with Fulham? There's a lack of depth for a start. Certainly from the midfields. I like the new wingers that we brought in, Chukwueze, and I really like Kevin. I think Kevin's going to be really fun. But we've got Sasha Lukic flying around like a mad hatter, just knocking people out. But once he's gone,
He's the most guaranteed yellow card all the time.
he's got 6 in his last 8.
Yeah, no shock there. No shock. And he should probably have 8 out of 8.
I'm pleased with him that he's actually playing more, because when he came,
He's good. He's good.
quite
I think
good,
he's a real destroyer, isn't it?
Yeah, he sort of got rid of Paulinho and got him in. But anyway, the problem is pretty similar to what I was saying last season. It's just we play lovely football, we look good, but we're just missing that secret sauce to be a real problem every week. Yeah. If we play a good team, we're really good. But if we play a bad team, sometimes
You almost match your opponent sometimes. Yeah.
And that is, I don't know what the solutions that is. Rodrigo Muniz has just signed a new deal until 2030. I'm hoping that will kind of settle down.
You want a bit more out of Smith Rowe as well, don't you? Considering how well he started the season last year.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just difficult. Josh King's keeping him out the side.
Yeah, he's been super.
True.
Which,
He's
fair enough.
incredible.
I mean, I think Smith Rowe has. You can bet on him replacing Josh King at 60 minutes almost every single game at the moment.
But for your club record signing to then...
I wouldn't worry about that though. It's not. It is obviously he's a club record signing, but Smith Rowe, it's not. We're not going to sell him. He's not going to be in the team.
Yeah, true.
So especially Tom Kearney, probably got one more year left in him. So Fulham's biggest problem is figuring out how to grind out results against the smaller sides. That's all honestly it, because we can get results against Brighton, we can draw against the big teams, we can upset teams when we want to, but sometimes, it is just quite frustrating. Like going 1-0 up against Villa, a bad Villa at the moment, and still managing to concede 3, even though I think, listen, you're going to call me a sort of fan bigot here, but our biggest problem has been refereeing decisions against us. I should say that.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely a penalty.
That is actually set in stone. Like, that handball is VAR'd everywhere else in Europe and gets given against Matty Cash. First of all, and the penalty, I accept that when you look at it first time with Josh King, it does look like he's dived. But
How did he get booked, by the way?
If you watch
it's not simulation.
If you watch the video, he's fully taken his feet out. Yeah. So that's bad. And then obviously the Chelsea stuff as well. So that it all does add up a little bit. Like, I've never been one to bash the referees, but 2 things with VAR which are meant to be there to correct it. That's where I think it's just unacceptable.
Yeah,
Marco Silva must be pulling his hair.
I was going to say, I don't think I've seen a manager so consistently annoyed at VAR other than Marco Silva. It's like, it feels like everything. It does feel like a lot does actually go against Fulham, to be fair. Like, I thought the Matty Cash one was a penalty. The Josh King one, I don't think is a dive, but I think he's kind of looking for it. But
He's always gone to dive and then actually got tackled and gone, oh no!
Yeah. So it didn't look convincing, did it?
Yeah.
But they have been unlucky.
Okay, then. Well, there is Fulham's biggest problem. We've probably got to make a little bit of a speed up to get through everybody. The classic,
3 hours.
as always. Maybe one day we'll just do 3 hours. Everyone gets half an hour each.
Yeah.
Okay, over to Newcastle United then. And again, this is one I found really difficult because I think Newcastle... Oh, okay.
No. Honestly...
Because in the teams they've had to play as well.
Right. They've lost... The 2 games they've lost have been late on against Arsenal
And Liverpool.
Yeah. Arguably, again, they shouldn't be losing
And
those
to
goals.
Barcelona.
Oh, well, don't worry about the Barcelona game.
Yeah.
Other than that, they've kept 4 clean sheets. This agenda against Nick Pope actually doesn't stick up when you look at the stats.
No, I
What
think
agenda against Nick Pope?
People. Whenever the chips are down at Newcastle, people point at Nick Pope and say, "Oh, because he can't kick" or something like that.
I mean, he did kind of screw them over against Arsenal. But I agree. I think the Ramsdale signing has actually been really good for Newcastle because it's taken Pope to kind of back to the level that he was. Because last season, he wasn't great, Nick Pope.
No, okay.
But like this, it was the Arsenal game where it's like after playing so well, making some brilliant saves, like doing quite well for the penalty, as we said earlier as well, that got overturned. It's just where he kicks it out, like just panics and kicks it, and then I think he tries to overcompensate on the corner by coming out for a ball. That's
he does.
But I don't. Nick Pope is nowhere near their biggest problem. Like I do think the Ramsdale signings kind of pushed him back to that level where Ramsdale can't get in the team. And I think a lot of people thought he'd go in and be the number one.
But I do tend to agree that like there's not really like a major flaw right now for Newcastle.
Nah.
If anything, like I dread to think when Chelsea play them. Like the idea of playing against Newcastle.
I think
is
the
not
only thing
fun.
I would say, and I said this in the summer about the recruitment, is I feel like they're missing a little bit of just a differential, like maybe in midfield more of a creative kind of profile, someone that. Tonali has been fantastic, by the way, in terms of being a playmaker that can do all sorts in terms of breaking the ball up and all that kind of stuff as well. But maybe I look at that squad and just think a little bit of spark, a little bit of creativity, because I still feel like they can be a little bit one-dimensional at times with their wingers. Their wingers are good. Alanga's good. Gordon's good. Barnes is good depth. But maybe it's just that. Maybe in midfield, that kind of maybe a classic kind of number 10. I think it's probably time next season maybe to move on from Joelinton. And maybe get more.
I don't hate that. I don't hate it at all. I think maybe
agree.
like move on might be a bit too far, but almost like have
From
someone
the starting 11.
competing with him.
Yeah, maybe that'll be Jacob Ramsey, to be fair, when Jacob Ramsey gets fit again. But I feel like it's nitpicking a little bit
don't
because
think
they've
you're necessarily wrong
been
with that.
all right.
I agree with you. If Voldemard's like a completely different profile of striker
he's dropping
to Isaac, then in that light, you probably do need someone a bit more creative behind. But Voldemard looks very good.
Maybe they'll play. Maybe when Wissa gets fit, maybe they'll play them both together, and then you will see a difference in them because Voldemard can bring that creativity as well.
Yeah, I actually that
like
game
Berbatov.
against Union Saint-Gilles as well. Like, I think that shows when they click, they're a bit of a problem.
That's a great finish as well, by the way, from Voldemard. Like I'm not, people saying about, I didn't mean to do that.
Mate, he can do it all,
quality.
man. He
Yeah.
can do it all. He can. Well done. He can do everything in football. It's really, really good to see. A really fun player to watch. So they have at Newcastle. Not too many issues, to be fair. So
Their
keep
biggest
going.
issue is they're 15th in the table, and everyone goes, "Oh, they're not doing very well." It's like, actually, expected points. So
add a bit of context.
They're going to be all right.
Exactly. Over to Leeds United then. Another team who I think have done, again, I think all 3 of the guys that have come up have done really, really well. They are not as easy to play against as I thought they might have been. Their signings that they brought in the summer have kind of adapted really, really well. They look solid in midfield. The only possible issue I'd say is maybe a little bit leaky at the back. They've conceded 9 goals so far this season. But again, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh my God. Like, they're a team that came up from the Championship, had to add a bunch of quality to sit here and be like, oh, how have you conceded 9 goals when Chelsea have conceded 8 is maybe a little bit harsh to brand them with that.
You know what I really love to see is Ampadu just sort of being a starting Premier League captain. He's had such a weird career. I remember when he came through, bought by Chelsea. He's been out in Italy. To see him performing week in, week out solidly as a proper CDM, I'm really happy.
He's fantastic. He was. We gave him our most underrated player last season. Last week for Leeds.
Really, very nice. Yeah, I think Ampadu's class, and I just think that Leeds. Their profile of player they went for was tall and big. They went for, and I think maybe they're just lacking a bit of legs in the side.
Yeah,
perhaps.
to be fair, I think they've kind of got that a bit from Longstaff. I think Longstaff's been a bit of a revelation since he's gone there. But yeah, I think again it's nitpicking a little bit because he has scored 1, I think, maybe.
You said Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, but I just think I look at that Bournemouth game last week, and in front of goal, there's ones where you still don't get me wrong. I think he's actually played quite well since he's been there. Got a goal against Wolves to get off the mark, which is positive. The fact that he's at least got one and kind of is helping the team,
but it isn't like something to write home about, is it?
No, like the Bournemouth game, he missed some really good chances. There was one with a header where it was straight at the goalkeeper from like 6 yards out. It was like he had so much time to like chest it and volley or something. But then again, he's been out kind of not out in the cold for so long, but like he's had a very up and down. Yeah, he's had a turbulent kind of couple of years. It's going to take him a minute. So the fact that he's at least got one goal to kind of give him that platform, and he has been dangerous, but just maybe not quite clinical enough in front of goal from him. But it's not really easy.
I feel like Daniel Farke's learned as well. Like his previous time with Leeds in the Premier League felt so like naive at times with some of his decision making, whereas now it does feel like because obviously going into the season, like imagine how he feels where there's questions over whether he's even going to be able to take the team that he got promoted, be in charge of them in the Prem, and so it's been quite a revelation to see him almost kind of learn from maybe his mistakes that he'd done previously with Leeds in the Premier League so far. But well done, Leeds. Fair play. You've done really well so far this season. And let's see if that continues for the next couple of months. Everton Football Club. I really enjoy watching Everton. I think they're a fun team now to watch. We've obviously been very complimentary, I think, towards the kind of 3 attacking midfield players in Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, Jack Grealish, and Ndai as well. However, the biggest issue, lads, where would you kind of go for that with Everton?
Centre forward.
Yeah.
Centre forward.
Yeah.
Beto, I said it once and I'll say it again. I know he's popped up with a few goals. He can score, but I don't know what he offers.
He's so frustrating.
Barry, I was so certain on if I ever basically in the predictions video say this could be the signing of the summer, it's not going to happen, guys. Because I said last year it was going to be Somerville. But Barry, I felt
he's
so
good now, to be fair, Somerville.
So Barry next year, get your stocks in. No, because I was really excited for Barry, especially considering how well he was doing for Villarreal, how like great he was at kind of breaking the line, making these runs in behind. And well, we've barely seen him really. Like he's just not impressed David Moyes so far. I think David Moyes has said as much as well in press conferences around Barry. And I'm hoping that maybe after kind of 3 months or so, like you'll then maybe see him kind of drip fed or maybe given a few more starts. But so far
you cannot ask for any more than a striker than having Jack Grealish running around on the left. You have Dewsbury-Hall, James Garner working their absolute socks off in midfield, and Iliman Ndiaye is a good goal scorer and a good creator as well. You can't ask for more as an attacker. They just need more from them.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're getting like with the way that Grealish and kind of Dewsbury-Hall dovetail. There's a lot of Grealish coming inside, that little reverse pass down the line to Dewsbury-Hall. There's a lot of crosses coming into the box for a centre forward. Like it's just you saw in the second half of the Merseyside derby, they were kind of barraging the penalty area. There was a lot of balls going in. It just feels like there shouldn't be as many excuses for their centre forwards as maybe there is. Gianno Barry is a slightly different story in the sense that he is young, new to the league, is going to take time to adapt. But Beto, I mean, I don't want to say he's just useless, but I don't really see what he's adding to that Everton team.
He has moments. And the thing is, like, do
you know what? He's like I feel like he's a bit of a cult hero at Everton, where like he was so bad and then he kind of turned it around and they were all like, oh, we love him, but now it's gone back to like, no, he is just crap.
Do you not remember like Mateta's first 2 years at Palace?
No.
Yeah.
He was actually all right. Like, do you remember he scored the back heel? He scored a back heel and he banged in a few. I always confused me. Me and Chris Hamill used to talk about this a lot. It always confused me that Mateta was not getting any more game time than he was. He was a good striker in Germany and he was a good striker. Like, he was all right at Mainz.
Well, my only point was going to be for 2 years, it took a lot of... like, Beto's had some decent finishes for them, but I agree.
I will say this now. If in 2 years, Beto is scoring goals like Mateta is now, I will buy 10 people that like this comment a beer, because I just refuse to believe that.
Cashing your stocks now, guys. Okay, I think, the biggest issue probably is the number 9 for Everton at the moment. It'll be interesting to see who they end up maybe trying to go for in January. But otherwise, I think Everton fans are quite happy with how things have gone so far.
They're not in a relegation battle.
Exactly. No. Exactly. Manchester United, the one biggest problem... Amorim.
Yeah, it's got to be Amorim, isn't it?
Yeah, he is really, really struggling at the moment. I mean, I wonder, I know there's all this stuff about November's the time when they can, like, supposedly financially, if that is to be believed.
It's just ridiculous.
I do think, God, they've got Sunderland before the international break at the Old Trafford. I think that could be the end.
Banana. That feels a big. Well, I was going to say nothing's really a banana skin with Man United anymore, but that doesn't feel great. Does it?
It doesn't, because originally when I was thinking about it, I was like, do we put the midfield as a bit of an issue? But all the biggest issues for United right now come back to Amorim. And he's just constantly making the wrong decision every single time. Like, I know we mentioned a little bit last week. How often does a manager need to change his centre-backs in order to do something? Mason Mount was playing left wing-back at one point.
Yeah.
He came on at the 60th minute, played in the attacking role, went over to the right, then ended up at left wing-back.
Yeah.
It was insane to see so many changes. But for someone that is so adamant to play one style, that screams of somebody who doesn't back that style. If you're constantly changing it, if you're constantly adding somebody else into the thingy. Look, obviously, a four at the back system didn't work under Erik ten Hag. I'm not saying that a four at the back is suddenly going to fix Manchester United's issues. But United have players there which I think that should be playing above their level now.
This is why it does 100% lead back to the manager, because it's about profiling them correctly and getting them in the right positions. Because there's been all this chat this week about, why can't Glasner's doing so well in a three at the back? It's basically the same system. It's not formation doesn't equal system.
And what did Glasner say this week as well?
He can adapt. He
said actually my favourite formation is four at the back.
Yeah,
I
don't think he ever played a three at the back before Palace.
He didn't.
So it's all about adaptation, playing to your players' strengths. That's the biggest thing in modern football, and it's just I find it remarkable with Amorim that, like you said, there's this constant kind of changing of the back three. There's this kind of, all right, maybe because a couple of injuries with Cunha and stuff, but there's this, they're rotating in the front line, whether it's with substitutions or from week to week in terms of the starting 11. The one thing that never changes is the biggest issue in the team, which is the midfield. That's the thing that never changes. It's Bruno Fernandes and it's Ugarte basically every week. How I don't know, how are you expected to gain any sort of consistency when you're chopping and changing it like this, but then you're sticking to the system that ultimately doesn't work and you're just profiling players completely in the wrong way?
I think you're also starting to see fans kind of have the last straw go now. I think the obviously the match against Brentford was so poor.
Dreadful.
It was so poor.
Basically, if you're Brentford, Brentford are very direct. They would have been licking their lips looking at Man United. A vulnerable backline, a vulnerable goalkeeper. They don't know where they're meant to be playing,
Set
really.
pieces,
There's players out of position. It's that is perfect for a team like Brentford to go and exploit that sort of vulnerability that bleeds down from the manager. I feel like we were kind of saying this before we started, but I look at Amorim on the touchline. I don't want to be too harsh, but I just think you're out your depth. He looks like he's really kind of struggling. He looks so vulnerable. Everything's kind of getting to him a little
all
bit.
the time.
And it's he's cracking jokes in the press conference about I'm signing a new contract. But now's not the time for
honestly,
jokes.
When he did that, I was thinking, how you?
My head would be on Mars if I was a
you
United
doing
fan.
this? I might be livid with you making those kind of jokes. I didn't think the ownership. If I was the ownership, I'd be thinking, what are you doing?
No,
what are you doing?
This was such a big move by Jim Ratcliffe. So
it was their move as well. Remember, because obviously they fell out with who's the
Dan
Ashworth, who wanted to bring Southgate in, who wanted Southgate.
Could do worse.
Then they went, no, we want to go with Amorim, and this all been Ineos's idea to have Amorim as their man. And I think that's kind of what's keeping him in a job as well.
100%.
Because if they get rid of him,
100%.
That's an admission that we fucked up.
But isn't it better to hold your hands up and say we got it wrong?
But they've already done that several times.
I promise you, Southgate would have done a much better job.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care what any tactical nerd who watches the Premier League says. Southgate managed England for an unbelievable amount of time, got England to multiple finals. Say what you want about his style, say what you want about his weird team selection sometimes. He would have done a way better job than Amorim.
Yeah. I really do tend to agree. And look, if you guys are Man United fans and you actually don't think Amorim is the issue, please let me know why in the comments below. Because I'd be interested to see the kind of other debate, but I don't think there is. I don't think there is anyone that believes that.
I was going to say, I feel like there's been a lot of, in the last few weeks, after the Manchester derby, Gary Neville was very... kind of defensive of Amorim, wasn't he, when he come out and said that he hasn't got the players and all this kind of stuff. And it felt like, to me anyway, it kind of felt like, because Gary Neville is almost such an influential voice in the Man United kind of space, it almost felt like because he knew the job that he's got on his hands, he was kind of trying to protect him a little bit. Whereas even now, Neville's kind of gone, this is unacceptable. Yeah. Wayne Rooney come out the other day, didn't he?
He doesn't hold any punches, does he?
Rooney, it was he said, get me in there, get Roy Keane in there. Do you not think
sometimes when they say get me or Roy Keane in the dressing room, that's going to do fucking nothing.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That means nothing.
What are you going to do? Pin him on against the wall and say you're not good enough? I do find that a little bit. But I think now the overwhelming voices in the Man United I've seen a lot of people as well, H from who does the overlap breakdown. It's like he's
really good,
kind of
he is.
in the last few weeks. I've seen like following him on Twitter is just like he's like, and this is a guy that knows a lot about football. He's like, what are we doing? Like,
but there is no
scratching my head. Like, what on earth are we doing?
It is all very head scratching, I think, to be honest, with Manchester United. I'm sure in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll end up doing a how to fix Manchester United again.
But we did that video like a month ago, and we said all of this same stuff, and it was just like,
welcome to the YouTube.
This is Manchester United,
2016. My friend.
I know.
We must have posted, or I must have posted, how to fix Manchester United. Minimum once a year.
That's
minimum.
Crazy.
So we'll see what happens. I'm sure Man United fans will be chatting again very, very soon. But they have Sunderland this weekend, and we'll see what happens there. From Manchester United to Brighton.
Again, this is one where I think that it's difficult to be too critical of them. I actually think they're finding their feet again.
Is it just a little bit with the back line? Like they have according to expected goals against, the fourth worst. They should have conceded the fourth most so far this season.
They press so high and they're so desperate to win the ball back that if that doesn't happen, then they're suddenly
you can play through them like to a degree.
I feel like they're so incredibly unpredictable. Like when we played them a couple of weeks ago and we were 2-0 down in the first half, to be honest, we didn't really deserve to be 2-0 down. It's a bit of a weird game anyway. But then they just kind of kept sort of coming at us and kept coming at us. It's just like you always feel like you're in the game if you're behind against Brighton, I think, which is
most recently for us on the weekend, like when we had 11 men on the pitch, we were really dominant over them.
Yeah,
genuinely really, really dominant over them. And then obviously red card changes games, but so on and so forth.
I was speaking to, when I went to the Amex a couple of weeks ago and Spurs played them, I was speaking to a couple of Brighton fans after that were almost a little bit like, and again, I'm not saying these people necessarily speak for the entire fan base, but I think there's a little bit now of just like, we're a good team. Let's go and do it. Let's stop being a little bit naive. Let's stop kind of this sort of project and a kind of constant cycling of players. Like let's establish ourselves now and properly kind of actually show how good we are.
Patrick van Straten, probably about a year ago now, I remember saying this exact sentiment where he said Brighton need to basically commit to one or the other. Do they want to be this team who every year sell their players, so on and so forth, and they have every right to and have every ability to, do we want to try and go on a Champions League run? Like, do we want to try and keep everyone? Do we not want to sell João Pedro? Obviously, I think João Pedro kind of forced that move a little bit. But, when this summer comes up and Balaba's on, people are knocking at the door for Balaba, are we going to get him? Are we going to be able to keep him and show them like, no, we want to go for the Champions League this year? Are we saying that behind the doors?
The model that they've kind of created allows players to force those moves, doesn't it? Because they know that they come in and
100%.
If a big club comes, of course we'll let you go. Like.
Exactly. Yeah, half the reason you'll join Brighton is in those conversations they've said like this, but like, are they ever going to make the move to go?
I don't really understand how they break that cycle.
Are we going to do the Champions League?
I don't know how they do that.
It's probably an uncomfortable conversation from Tony Bloom, to be honest, with these players.
Well, they kind of had this. Sorry, Harry, I was going to say they had this like 10-year project, didn't they? Where it was like they wanted to finish inside the top 10. Was it every year up until 2030? I think, and maybe just creating that steady foundation where they get into Europe a few times. Because the aim of finishing in the top half is to get into Europe, and if you don't finish in Europe, then at least you finish in the top half. You get what I mean? That's the kind of the floor, right? And then maybe once they've kind of done that and shown that they can always compete, the consistent stream of revenue will allow them maybe to be a bit more aggressive in the market without them to say, I don't know, but I would be a little bit frustrated just in terms of some of the in-game management and also just that go and show how good you actually are. I think
I'm also, again, nitpicky, as you say. I'm not taken up by Verbruggen.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
I know he even starts in the Netherlands these days, but I
don't mind him as much as you guys do.
I just don't.
Bayern were sniffing around him in the summer. Okay. Go back to Steele. That's what always happens to Brighton. When in doubt, go back to Steele. Was it Jason Steele? Jason Steele. Okay, well then, Brighton. If you are a Brighton fan, let us know in the comments below what you think your biggest issue is, and do you agree that you guys think maybe you need to take that next step up towards trying to battle for more consistent European places and possibly a Champions League push? Let us know down there. From one team that begins with a B to another team that begins with a B, Brentford Football Club, who, let's remember, at the start of the season, we were all thinking they've just got to try and stay up.
Yeah.
These guys have just got to try and stay up. And whilst there were definitely times where we were worried maybe slightly for the manager's name escaping me, Keith Andrews, and how he was going to adapt, they've ended up now kind of finding their feet a little bit. Like they maybe know the kind of football they want to play is going to be a little bit more direct. Jordan Henderson in midfield is now, I think, started to really find his feet in the last 4 games for them.
Even Yarmouk has stepped up.
Yarmouk's, yeah.
A lot of Brentford fans are telling me he was absolute pish last year.
Well, actually, we put forward a who did we say for? I said Lewis Potter for underrated player, and a couple of Brentford fans in the comment section were saying Yarmouk so far this season is maybe one of their most underrated players.
Norgard going has meant that Yarmouk he's had no choice but to step up, and I think he's doing that quite well. Even Thiago, he's that finish.
Thiago against Man United was really good. The
he-
run, by the way, the timing of the run is exceptional.
Well, the second goal as well, I know it's kind of a tap-in, rebound finish, but it's excellent centre-forward play. Like long ball, he chests it down into the path of Sharda, and then he just carries on that run into the box. Sharda has a shot, rebound, and he's there to pick up the pieces. Like, it's really good centre-forward play.
We forget sometimes, obviously, he was brought in as the Ivan Toney replacement, had that long-term injury, and we kind of got used to a Brentford attack without that kind of main focal point, because that's how they've always played, is with like a very focal point striker.
Wissa was very different to Tony. He was more about like drop deep, spinning behind kind of thing. Like.
Exactly, and Vissa kind of exactly came to the fold, and then Burnley was so good we're now kind of seeing them almost kind of go back to what they were doing pre-Vissa, and having Igor Thiago as the is it Igor Thiago? Igor Thiago as the number 9. And he was really good against Manchester United.
I think again, Keith Andrews' first proper job in management. It's 6 games into the season. It's not going to be easy.
Unbeaten at home so far.
Unbeaten at home, they're going to have to really lean onto that home form. I think their biggest problem is away from
They've
on the road.
always struggled a little bit away, haven't they?
And that so I still think they're just finding the feel. I don't. Considering how bad I thought they were going to be this year, I'm actually really.
This is why I feel like it's a bit harsh, maybe, to even like criticise them slightly for like.
Nah, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I say the only thing, like you said, their away form. It was weird. Like under last year, under Thomas Frank, they had an excellent home record in the first half of the season. Then it kind of flipped. Bad away. The only signing that's disappointed me a little bit is Kelleher. I know he saved the penalty against Bruno Fernandes, but he's had a couple of moments. But like the Sesko goal, I'm just like, deal with it, man. Like there's been a couple of moments like that with him so far. But again, I feel like we're really nitpicking about Brentford if you're going to kind of fix something apart, given the pre-season expectation. But I just think because Kelleher, Henderson aside, was their most established kind of signing that you really thought this is a great bit of business. He's not, but it's such a small sample size of games, and it's only a couple of mistakes. So. Again, it's just
I guess he's also going to be
a bit of a bastard, Ben.
I think so. Yeah, I'm sorry, Queven. I apologise.
I guess he's also under a lot more fire. He's under a lot more fire now than he was at Liverpool, wasn't he? As well.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
He's going to be
facing more shots. Yeah.
Exactly.
But still does what he does and saves a penalty. So
yeah. So maybe we are nitpicking just a little bit. Over to Nottingham Forest. Is it the quality of depth? Because I think defence.
Can it?
But do you not think, especially in the defence, where we've seen obviously Murillo get that injury against Arsenal? I know he's actually coming back this weekend.
Yeah.
But defensively, I think since then we've seen them drop off massively.
Morato is a downgrade.
Morato is, I think that's even putting it kindly, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's been very, very poor at the back for them.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I think defensively, their depth of quality isn't as good as going forward.
Yeah.
They've got a deep squad, but
maybe that's where I should put it more on the defensive side, because Murillo, and also look, like Murillo is a incredible centre back. Like it's not going to be easy to replace him.
Yeah, and just had him for one game, isn't he? Well,
they give up really. They don't actually give up loads of shots, but they give up really high quality chances.
Yeah. Exactly the same as Tottenham. For the first season,
and they get punished when it happens. They get punished and is already like digging a little hole for himself by going, it's not going to be this week, it's going to be next week, and then they're going to lose to Swansea. It's sort of like it's tricky, and they've got Newcastle this weekend, and I think Newcastle are going to really punish them. I've really struggled to see how they walk away from that game. All right, but I just don't think they're as good as their results last year suggest they're going to be. They're actually if you look at their run from being bad, starting to go bad last year to now, they haven't been good for a while. It's not like they were. They had a 6-month purple patch, and they've actually been poor for a while. And that is beginning to rear its. That fact is beginning to rear its.
And also,
head.
Chris Wood was running hot. He was he was playing so well. And I think if your idea going forward is let's rely on a 33, maybe older.
That's a good player.
Chris Wood to keep up at this form and keep like battling with Erling Haaland for most goals scored in the league. that's probably not going to be the thing that sorts you out every year.
Time to give the keys to Igor Jesus.
But it's like just do it gradually, because there are also different ways of going about it. Like he also isn't under what we know of Ange Postecoglou, an Ange Postecoglou striker, is he? He could definitely Chris Wood.
Yeah, definitely not.
He wants someone that's a lot more of a pressing guy. He wants somebody working hard all the time, and that's just Chris Wood is not of the age to be doing that anymore. But what he does have is very good, a very good profile for being this kind of strong number 9 who's very good in the air. He scored so many goals last season from crosses into the box, so he can be used in that way. But you are right. I think Ange does look at Jesus and think
Forest are going to be fine this year, but
they'll definitely be fine. And enjoy the away days as well. Like they'll be playing.
They're not going to be. I honestly think they should have stayed in the Conference League. They could have won the Conference League.
Yeah.
They really could have won the Conference League, and then they'd have a shot at European football next year. I will be stunned if they make Europe this year.
Okay. I also think they've had a bit of a problem in the last few games with that kind of chance conversion. They are creating more under Ange naturally with the way that he wants to play. I think you've seen in moments like flashes of the sort of football, Zinchenko kind of getting into good areas to create chances. Like Burnley, they probably should have come away with more in that game. Sunderland at the weekend, great win for Sunderland, but Chris Wood missed a sitter in that second half. They had moments towards the end of that game. So, but yeah, maybe defensive depth, I would say. And you know what it's like with the system, they probably will get more injuries as well.
So I kind of worry that issue might creep up a few times this season, but we'll see, especially at centre-back.
They also just need a win to justify making that decision, because he's not won in 5 games yet. They've got Midtjylland tonight in the Europa League, to be fair, at home. So you'd imagine that's. I mean, I don't know about Midtjylland. They could.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they need to win in the Premier League as well, to be honest as well. That is quite crucial.
Newcastle probably isn't
yeah, definitely not. Over to another team that plays in red then. Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool Football Club. It's funny, isn't it? Because if we did this last week, I think a lot of people would have been like, oh, they just keep finding a way to win games. Everyone's really happy at Liverpool. No one's moaning. Now, that's changed. Yeah, crisis. I've genuinely seen tweets from Liverpool fans saying sack Slot, which is, I promise you, I swear to you, which is quite a thing. We've seen Carragher hit the panic button and now go, drop Wirtz, get Wirtz out of the team, go back to what we did last season.
He has not been good.
Well, let's get into it then. What is their biggest issue, Henry?
I don't think you can. I think if you're not playing well, I don't care how much you cost. You can't just afford to give people endless chances. When you've got someone like Szoboszlai playing great, and I know that he's actually playing better at right back, and at this point it looks like Schlott prefers him at right back to Frimpong. Just get the. Well, it's another question of just getting the right players.
I've seen both of them crucified, to be honest. Now, Frimpong as well, getting people saying, "Question: Why do we buy either of them from Leverkusen?" I will say though, to be fair, the game that they played in the Champions League, Galatasaray, Wirtz actually does create a few chances.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
He actually was not the issue there.
It's just because, and two things can be true at the same time. Wirtz has not been good enough, obviously, but also I think it just came on top on Tuesday because they didn't score a goal. They lost again off the back of the weekend where he didn't play well in that one. So people have kind of got it out for him at the moment, obviously with Wirtz, and you know what football kind of discourse is like online.
One of the most expensive players that people
of course.
To
and there should be expectations and pressure. And other fans who have gone through similar things with players are holding Wirtz to the same standard as what Caicedo went through and what Pogba went through, for example, with some of the criticism around his game. So I get that from a fan's point of view, but if you strip that away, like you said, Wirtz actually created quite a few chances the other night, was quite bright, had a shot that was saved. He wasn't anywhere near their biggest problem. I don't know what. Is
it not that they've basically changed a lot? And there's going, like, for instance, Liverpool won the league last year. Shock. I still felt like the entire season there was something a little bit suspect defensively. And I feel like that's come to fruition a bit more now that we're seeing them struggle a little bit more on that side. Like the gelling of the midfield is nowhere, obviously, because Wirtz is there, is nowhere near as consistent as it was last year when it was McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai as a midfield three. Even Harvey Elliott came in there. Obviously, Wirtz is so much more of a 10 than a guy that drops back and does all this defensive work like Szoboszlai would do, that they are struggling in that side. And then you get to the attack, and last season, what was Liverpool's plan? Route one is get Salah in the best chances, get Salah in the best positions to score these goals. Yeah. Now, obviously, with Isak playing, with Wirtz playing, with Ekitike playing, there are so many guys here who want to be having the final shot, who want to be in the best position to get this shot off. that it's such a completely different attack to how it was last year. Like there's so much more adaptation process they need to go through. And to be honest, it's been happening this whole season. Just because they've done really, really well at the beginning of the season of finding these last-minute goals against Newcastle, against Arsenal, a couple of other games, Burnley. Like they've managed to pick up these last-minute goals that have kind of covered over the cracks a little bit.
Yeah.
That actually now we've, in the last 2 games, kind of seen them. And look, put it this way, Palace are playing amazingly at the moment. Palace are a really good team.
There's no disgrace in losing that game.
Not at all.
Or losing away to Galatasaray.
It's the Champions League. I think sometimes we underestimate how good some of these teams can be.
Also, I saw a lot of Liverpool fans that were kind of saying, how have we just lost to a team that got beat 5-1 by Frankfurt in their first Champions League game? But it's like, playing Galatasaray away is so different to playing them at home. It's a totally different test. I made a video on TikTok yesterday after Carragher's comments, and I was kind of like scrolling through the comments just now of what kind of Liverpool fans were saying. It feels like the balance in midfield is one of the biggest problems that they've got. Also, like
it was so perfectly balanced last season.
Also, I think they're missing Trent a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
Just in terms of kind of unlocking the door from a central perspective, chance creation, it feels like they're not actually being able to get the ball to their attackers. It feels like they're not actually being able to get Isak the ball in the best position, Ekitike the ball in the best position, Salah the ball in the best position.
Even Kirkes, like when Kirkes is playing, it's a big step up to come do this for Liverpool now, where you're going to be much more, you're going to be asked to do a lot more going forward than you were at Bournemouth, but also you're going to be under a lot more pressure to defend better.
He's very erratic, isn't he, Kirkes? Like
but this is also
in a good way, but also a bad way.
I think there should be an understanding. This stuff takes time. Like part of I remember that one of the TikTok that went viral where I was getting absolutely crucified about Wirtz joining Liverpool, and everyone was saying I was an idiot for saying basically he might not be this successful transfer, especially at the start. And not worry, this is kind of what's happened now. Like it's going to take time for a guy who was so used to only playing in this Leverkusen system under Xabi Alonso to now coming to a Liverpool side where you're not the main guy anymore. You're also got one of the most expensive fees attached to your name, and you're going to be kind of going up against other superstars in your own team for the moment.
He just needs a goal or an assist as soon as possible. I actually think this week is probably a welcomed wake-up call for Slot and for Liverpool, because as you said, they've been bumbling through games, getting results, and everyone's going, oh, well, they've just got that luck on their side. It's like, well, actually, no, you don't, because when you come up against 2 very specific scenarios, like you said, you can lose. And the result of that, I think Schlott will now go, right, they've sobered up now because they've been a bit drunk on success on luck so far. So I'm not
bad injury.
They're still top of the league. They're still definitely going to get through the Champions League.
Oh yeah,
it's really not a big deal. They just need Wirtz to get a goal and assist and to maybe jiggle that side around.
Well, Mama Dashvili will be probably looking to play.
What are you talking about your Mama
Djellab.
She thinks Wirtz is shit.
She's raging with him.
Well, the idea of your mama's like Italian. Mama Djellab.
But obviously he's going to be debutanting in goal or featuring in goal for Liverpool against Chelsea. Who's the other guy that came off for Liverpool? Was it Ekitike? Ekitike I think it's probably been their best signing so far, really, out of all of them. Sure. And he's there. So look, I'm sure they'll be fine with playing Alexander Isak up top. And Mamadashvili in goal. Mama Djellab in goal.
Put on the gloves on.
But it is a lot of questions. Would you say, if you had to go quickly, the biggest problem for Liverpool is just adaptation period?
Adaptation and balancing all of those kind of players together. But the midfield especially, I think, is probably the biggest one of the moments.
Who was a partner to Van Dijk on the weekend? Was it Konate?
Yeah,
it was. I think Konate's been poor.
Carragher went for him as well, didn't he? Kind of was like, this is happening every week.
Well, because they've even been talking about him signing this new deal now.
Selling Quansah looks like a bad move.
They might, maybe Joe Gomez comes back into the line. Okay, though, but there we have it, Liverpool. That is your biggest.
How many more have we got, Zach? I feel like
we've got. To be honest, we're going to give a lot of them some quick praises. Crystal Palace. Probably the biggest problem at the moment is someone's going to try and snatch Glasner. That's the biggest issue, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's 2 issues. The first is their team is basically the same every single week. An event like Chris Richards, you could basically predict Mitchell, Munoz, Richards, Gehi, and Lacroix every single week. I'm not too worried about Henderson. He's not having to run around. But the rest of them, eventually... that's the only area where their substitutes you can predict every week, because Lerma will come on for someone, Will Hughes or Kamada will come on depending on who started. Someone will figure them out, or they will get exhausted. And although they have a few players coming off, a few interesting signings, I'm worried about that. But the other major problem is that, as we said, if United sack Amorim, you just have to go to Glasner, because this will be the first time in a while they've gone for a proven Premier League manager at the top of his game. And let's be honest, Glasner would probably leave Palace.
I think he would. I think he would. It's how
there's no excuses, because with Amorim and Ten Hag, they came from Ajax and Sporting, and you sort of
questions,
think, questions.
Glasner's,
there's no I think that's their biggest problem. Is they're almost, testament to you, Palace, you're almost too good for your own good.
Yeah. I feel like their biggest problems are kind of yet to come, and I think that is one of them. But also the fact that they haven't started their Conference League campaign yet. And they have got a better squad now, probably a deeper squad, but it's still not amazingly deep. And
mate, Dynamo Kyiv are going to do something.
Yeah, exactly. They've got tonight.
I think that is.
If they've
this is where we're going to start
get
seeing
a couple of injuries,
European games, adding more minutes into the leg.
Even in the League Cup, their team, they were playing someone not great.
Millwall, wasn't it?
Millwall. That you look at that team and it's basically the same size that they roll out every week in the league.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but look. Testament to you.
You're too good.
You are too good.
Just on that, I don't mean to dictate it. Sunderland, I have zero
bad things to
say about Sunderland.
Well, funny enough, I'll skip ahead then quickly, and we'll do the on afterwards. Sunderland was the one, the only thing I could come up with genuinely, and it's almost a compliment, just a great acquisition. Maybe an over-reliance on Robin Roofs to be doing so well. He's currently the highest goalkeeper for post-shot expected goals.
He's unbelievable.
He is so good. But my only thing is maybe they just kind of needing him to perform out of his skin slightly to not concede as many. But even that's, I feel really, really harsh.
You know, when a transfer happens for no reason, you just think, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
When I read that Sunderland bought a keeper from NEC Nijmegen in Netherlands for 11 million, I thought, "Oh,
what do they know that we don't?"
And then, sure enough, he's been quality. But still, like Xhaka, wow.
Every single one of them.
Even like Ty Hume, who stepped up.
Yeah. Isidore, we were saying Isidore, I think has been brilliant.
Mukiele.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we say over-reliance, but then Reynildo and Mukiele, these Masuaku when he's played, they've all been good. Yeah. Like all of their signings, well, from the ones that are playing anyway, are all doing bits. I have zero things.
I kind of tend to agree. If you are a Sunderland fan or a Newcastle fan, let me know. Over to Spurs then. Tom, I was going to call you Tottenham then. Ben, you mentioned beforehand, it's your build-up that is your biggest issue at the moment.
I think, there's a few things. Build-up probably being the main one. I feel like we're trying to strike the best balance in midfield at the moment. João Paulinho has come in and been really, really good, but he's not the most progressive on the ball. I don't think he's the sole issue, though. I think it's more about partnering him with Bentancur, especially in home games where it feels a bit too safe. I feel like Lucas Bergvall has been deployed as more of a 10 so far this season, which I don't think necessarily, despite the fact that he's been playing quite well there and affecting the game, it's not the best use of his skills. I think you want him a bit more deeper, have someone that's a bit more brave on the ball deeper to help you get out of that first phase when teams are pressing high onto you. It also means that Xavi Simons is kind of playing out on the left, which he's been playing as a left winger, but not really as a left winger in the last couple of games. He's been playing as a kind of 10 with a doggy going around him. I feel like we've got that balance right now, to be fair, down there, even though I still think you'd rather have him in the 10. But I feel like, it's our build-up. It feels a bit stodgy, a bit too safe. But I also think that Frank is a manager that had a lot to do in terms of turning around Tottenham's fortunes from last season in the league, making us more defensively solid, kind of building that platform. Thomas Frank has also got a proven track record of improving from an attacking point of view year on year at Brentford. He isn't going to have as much time to do that at Tottenham. That's the reality of it, with the pressure and expectation. But we've still only lost one game. We've got a very good record in defence as well, lots of clean sheets. But I think for me, it just feels a bit stodgy from an attacking point of view, just because we're not being able to get that kind of build up and that midfield right.
The one thing I'm also getting from Spurs at the moment is, if you look at the league table, it's not that bad, and like you've managed to kind of get results.
We've not had that tough a run either.
Not tough, true. But I also kind of feel like you're not that far away from it almost going wrong, if that makes sense. And then suddenly
it's on a bit of a fine balance right now.
That's it. You're not that far away from it going right either. Like there is definitely, like if Xavi Simons suddenly starts like picking up as well, if Kudos, like I actually think has been okay,
but if he's been really good.
But if we can see him maybe impacting the games a little bit more, I don't know whether him getting the goal or him getting the assist.
With Kudos, I think, with the way that we're kind of creating chances at the moment, there's a bit too much of an over-reliance on him, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly.
Because a lot of our build-up is kind of being funneled down the wide areas. He's getting doubled up on a hell of a lot because we haven't necessarily got the same threat over on the left-hand side, which is why I think you need to get Xavi Simons in the game centrally.
Simmons is the big one. Simmons is one of the biggest ones because he was the guy that when you came in, you think...
that's my biggest problem, is not getting Simmons in.
Well, I think, I mean, Simmons, to be fair, like, when he came on against Brighton, he was excellent in that game. But other than that, we haven't really seen him, I think, optimise in the best way so far. He's been
do you
okay.
not think he should play the 10?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when he came on against Brighton, that's exactly what he did, and he helped turn that game around. So,
especially in the Premier League, he's almost too sly, or he's also not quick enough to be a left winger.
No, he needs to be playing centrally. And I think it comes
does.
back to the biggest issue that we're just struggling to progress the ball centrally at the moment. We need Simmons to kind of... We miss Maddison a lot, because Maddison would do that, where he'd drop deep to pick the ball up off the centre halves. And
that's what Simmons does really well. He did that brilliantly for the Netherlands.
Absolutely. And for Leipzig, it gives Romero so many more options. We're too reliant on his line-breaking passes in build-up. Paulinho and Bentancur as a pivot together are just too safe. I feel like you need to break that up. But Paulinho is kind of in his own performances has kind of made himself undroppable. So you need to find the perfect partner for him. Get someone in there that's a bit more brave on the ball. I think drop Bergvall deeper, get Simmons in the 10, and then I think we're actually starting to... And also it means that you can kind of trust players to make their own decisions on instinct a little bit more as well. Whereas I think we're just a bit too functional, a bit too robotic at the moment, which is a bit frustrating. But I feel like it's, like you said, it could go wrong, but I think it's also quite close to going right.
Okay, well, there we have it. If you're watching Thomas Frank, get Simmons in the 10. Get Simmons in the 10. Okay, over to Bournemouth then. Another one, quite tricky. They've been really good this season. They've only lost once, and that was to Liverpool on the first day of the season. They were a little bit unlucky in that. Really. I was going to say maybe, but a little bit leaky at the back again. That kind of feels like always the one to kind of go to for some of these times. But I don't even think that's quite harsh with that. That's kind of, at times, with the way Iraola wants to play his football, you are going to be a little bit more open.
Well, also, look at in that Liverpool game, for example, the quality they're coming up against, even when they're not playing at their best. So
any quick problem for them that you guys can think of? But I kind of struggle really.
I think
they've always seemingly impressive.
There's maybe a slight over-reliance on Antoine Semenyo in attack, but then at the same time, if you look at what Brooke is doing, who else? And
Alex
Scott as well. Like they are... Like statistically, they're doing all the right things and they're creating space for Semenyo. It is a team effort what they're doing. I think Tyler Adam in midfield has been so good, crunching people. So yeah, I'm given how many players they lost to transfers. I just think Andoni's a remarkable manager.
100%.
I agree.
I feel like the only thing maybe, if you're being harsh, is just like something that we saw a little bit last season, just losing control of games at certain moments just because of the style. But I think if that's something that they can kind of work on, you saw it against Leeds at the weekend, just relinquishing a little bit, like Liverpool as well, for example. So, but I think again that's something that will come and he'll learn and adapt as a manager. So
definitely, I'm also so interested in what they do in January. I think they again a couple of moves just to help them out.
If they're in a good position, if they're in a dominant league position,
they're not playing Europe either, are they?
A lot of players will probably look at it and go, "Yeah, all right, I'll get involved."
I agree.
So they could do something.
Their recruitment in the last few years has been absolutely exceptional all the time. Okay, then Bournemouth haven't got one for you unfortunately, but that's again a compliment towards you. Arsenal have actually been very good this season.
Yeah.
As much as it might pain Ben to admit it and myself. The only thing I could really go to, I think the depth has been amazing. It's just the attack is still possibly gelling. Like, I don't think they quite know what to do yet with Gyökeres fully and how they want to get the best out of him, at least on the wing play.
I've never seen, not never seen, but it's so funny. Like, one week you see on Twitter, it's like, look at him, he's smashing people out of the way, he's unbelievable. Yeah. Next week it's like, where's Gyökeres?
Yeah.
God, see really
well, especially in the bigger games, but like the City game, I felt like he went a little bit unnoticed. Who did they play on the weekend? Just
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Good hold-up play, but I think the thing is with Gyökeres, you kind of see in little moments, like against Newcastle, there's a couple of times he kind of got slipped for on goal, and it's like that's when you see that he maybe hasn't got quite the same amount of time to load up his shots and find himself getting caught out a little bit and caught up with and sort of stop. But it's more his all-round game, I think, has been quite good actually.
But it's more about the front three and maybe even like when whoever is in the 10-ish kind of position and the midfield. I just feel like they still don't quite know how to work together fully to be this unstoppable attack. Because you look at the backline, they know exactly. Even Mosquera, Mosquera's been one of the best signings this summer. But that backline know exactly what they're doing all the time perfectly well. Whereas I think still going forward, they are. And again, we are 6 games into the season.
Left wing is a bit.
But he almost seems to have figured out Martinelli again. Like Martinelli has found some form recently, being this bench option at times, and coming on.
But from the start, it does feel like I think they kind of need to commit to. I think it's got to be Odegaard and Eze. Like, I think that there's been a lot of chat about... Eze's been good since he's gone to Arsenal, don't get me wrong, and you saw how good he was when he was able to play centrally on Sunday against Newcastle, but also I watched a bit of him last night against Olympiacos. I think having Zubimendi in that team now they were being able to get the ball to Odegaard so much quicker, and he just looked a lot more like himself, Odegaard. And if you can get Odegaard and Eze with a license to kind of come inside and they can operate as dual 10s, and Calafiori or Lewis Skelly or whoever can go round him, I think that's what you've got to do. Eze has got to be a starter in that team. And I think Odegaard, I said it last week, I feel like all of the stuff went a little bit over the top around Odegaard. Yes, don't be wrong, he did have a poor season last year, nowhere near the standards that were set the year before. He also had fitness problems and injury problems that kind of went with that. And he hasn't had a great start to the season this year, again with fitness problems and injury issues as well, little ones, shoulder or whatever.
Generally, yeah.
But last night, I was like, nah, I know it was Olympiacos, but like very, very, very good. And I feel like that's the one thing they've just got to figure out. The front line. It's Saka on the right. It's Gyökeres is always going to play.
So Madueke's been class.
He has, but
out injured now for a couple of months, isn't he?
It's also a good problem to have. Like, how do we fit Eze Odegaard?
You have 2 months, yeah.
How do we fit like Eze Odegaard and Madueke into the team? It's a good problem to have.
100%, a very good problem to have. And obviously when Kai Havertz comes back as well,
this does seem to happen to Arsenal. They get a bit of momentum, and someone just gets some savage injury.
It's a real shame. Isn't
the thing is, this is where I think they've got the depth to adapt for it. Like when Saliba went out, Mascara came in and looked just as good.
He's
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Arsenal, to be honest, right now, I think are the team who are just one click away from running away with it, to be honest.
You know what? I know we need to move on, but I said at the start of the season, I thought Arsenal were going to bumble along, maybe finish 4th this year or regress. I actually take that back. I think some of their late on signings in the window have really propelled them. If they get it right this year, I think they're going to be a real... Because they're playing better football than Liverpool.
I'm not going to change it.
They're more solid than City.
I won't change my prediction just yet, but I do feel like I'm only about a month away from maybe putting Arsenal there, because they do look mighty strong, that is for sure. Our last one then, and to be honest, I feel like it's hard to say anything now because of what they've done. West Ham.
Yeah.
West Ham, they maybe have almost fixed their biggest issue, which was getting to Graham Potter.
Yeah, everything's kind of just avoid now.
And you saw Nuno change things. Like maybe actually the James Ward-Prowse's biggest issue is going to be Nuno. He does not like it.
I'll tell you some statistical analysis I did on West Ham. They are dreadful at defending corners and set pieces.
Oh yeah,
they've conceded 8 from set pieces, including one last week. And who are they playing this week? Arsenal. And do you know who are really good at set pieces? Arsenal. I'm telling you now, Declan Rice is going to whack one in, and it's going to hit Gabriel's big fat head and go in.
Right on the line as well. Yeah.
There is West Ham. Like, does it take 2 weeks or whatever it's been for Nuno to fix their ability to defend corners? No,
they did look better against Everton though under Nuno's just like
and Michael Keane still scored a header from a sequence which came from a corner.
Yeah. True. So their set pieces are awful.
I just think their biggest problem is organisation in defence. I actually think, like man for man, they're fine, and I still think there will be an upturn in form. It's so funny to me that after everything, West Ham have once again gone back to a defensive-minded manager. They are honestly
but I think
laughable.
West Ham
just stick to it then.
Way? Tell me what the West
just
Ham
stick to it. Don't moan about it. If it works, just leave it there. Maybe that's just who you are. Just accept it. Accept it. You're not going to be playing Barcelona football.
They've got the Portuguese Moyes.
Yeah. They've got the Portuguese Moyes. They do indeed.
Maybe that's what they want the whole time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's the perfect blend of what they're after. Yeah. They've got a flamboyantly nationed guy who plays boring football.
Meat and potatoes football.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like Lopetegui. He looked like a prune that's been driving the sun.
Yeah, that's for sure.
His jeans were shocking.
Okay, then. Thing is, no more Graham Potter memes. That is the sad part.
I love Potter.
Yeah, goodness gracious, who knows where Potter's going to go next, that's for sure.
Right, we'll go Sweden.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, back there. Boys, thank you so much for joining me. If a lot of people at home, maybe we'll try the collaborations on this if you want again. We did it with Ben. We can do it with Football Joe if you'd like.
I might get in trouble.
No, sure. Well, whatever happens.
Definitely.
Either way, Henry Hill, if people want to check you at home, where can they go?
Yeah, I don't know. Just watch my Joe stuff. I'm going to launch my stuff soon. It is coming. Yes. I've sorted it out.
He does need to.
I don't really care.
He does need to. Ben Bowman, you care though. Where can people at home check you out?
YouTube, TikTok, and stuff.
You know it all.
You know
all down there.
Actually,
can
people just follow me on Twitter? Surely I've got more than 6,000 followers in this world at this point. I don't understand.
So he needs to follow me on
like
Twitter, Jesus. Like Jesus. How many followers has Jesus had?
More than me.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll stop there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all very, very soon. Have a good weekend. Bye.